Warm weather person?
Yeah, like I super leisure activities. I do like X Games and
What's that?
I was snowboarding. Like mountain biking, extreme sports. I do it's free. It's called freeboarding. Um, and I guess so. All right. So with a freeboard is basically a long board with wide trucks, but it's got a caster wheel that's in the middle of the trucks itself. And so that cast,
Oh yeah, it's got a
yeah,
big
so
wheel.
it'll allow you to
I seen
well, yeah,
those.
it'll allow you to like it rides like a snowboard
I
just on
seen those.
pavement. So yeah, it's a little bit reckless, but
Young people,
it's mad fun. It's mad
young
fun.
people, man. Young people. I love millennials, man. Here's the thing: we need y'all. We need y'all. I'm 20 years older than you.
That's
Yeah,
crazy. Yeah, I mean, good job. You eating right.
I'm 20 years older. I do okay, man. But I go to the gym every day. But I'm noticing. My circle of influence is just getting so much bigger. So I'm noticing my elders and my millennials. It's like this gap. It's like they can't even have a conversation with each other. The elders are like, you social media, so and so. And then you guys are like, man, y'all direct mail, newspaper. It's a gap. So we need you, Jordan. Help us bridge this gap with us old dinosaurs and young people, brother.
I mean, I think that's just the way business works generally is I mean you just get more efficient. You just we build on top because we really wouldn't have been able to get here without the people who made those the person who made the typewriter
That's
influenced the
true.
keyboards, influenced the modern laptop or the what is that the it was that the
Word processor.
Osborne
Huh?
the Osborne was the first one that was on the briefcase. Is that that one?
I
I
just
think
know
it's
it's a word processor. That's all I know. I don't know.
yeah, that was like one of like I think the first like laptop versions.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was like a monochrome screen, like the green font and stuff like that. And then they,
Wow.
started upgrading it from there. But all that stuff builds on each other.
It
So,
does, brother.
it's but it's people like you because you're the bridge to the older generations. Like, so I'm a millennial, and you are what generation are you?
I'm Generation X.
All right, so Gen X. So that's between X is between boomers, right?
The
The
X came
boomers are
way, huh? But yeah, my brother's a boomer.
all right. So right, so that's the next generation. That's my parents. My parents are boomers. Then it's Gen X. You're the bridge to the boomers, which are a lot of where most of the policies, economics, a lot
Wealth.
of that sway is there. So we gotta be able to have a conduit for somebody to be able to say like, hey, look, I'm not that much younger than you, but I can pick this stuff up. You know, why
Yeah,
not
I'm trying, Joe. I feel like I'm one man army, when
you?
because I meet with them, obviously because I manage it. They give me the money, they manage they give me the capital to manage for them because they ain't gonna do it. So
Right.
I'm like, y'all need to maybe look at you social media, you're right, it's coming along, it's coming along.
Yeah, slowly but surely. I definitely be getting impatient though.
Slowly. The grandma effect, Gary V. Roundup, what's going on, homies? It's so good to see you guys. Welcome to tonight's broadcast. Excuse me, my house is what's that thing called? A madhouse tonight. This is how it's gonna be. Kids going crazy, dog. Welcome to tonight's broadcast. I am Chris Haskins. My mission and ministry is to raise your financial literacy through real estate investing and entrepreneurship. Tonight I've got a guest, my friend Jordan Taylor. How you doing, my friend?
Pretty good, man. How you been?
Good to see you again, bro. I ain't seen you in a while.
I know, right? Need to come down south side.
Yeah, we definitely gonna go. At least hang out at what was it, the Baltimore Marina when this whole thing
Oh yeah,
blows over.
yeah. In a harbor, yeah, that's the spot.
Horrible. Yeah, you told me about a place I didn't get to go when I was there. So Jordan, Roundup. If you remember, a few months back, I went to Baltimore. Still am interested in investing in Baltimore, but I was looking at a 10-unit building. Wish I could find some pictures of that thing. Why are you talking, Jordan? I'm gonna see if I can find some pictures. There's a private. Are you on a computer?
Yeah.
There's a private chat there. Shoot me up the address so I can pull up some pics of that thing, Jordan, while we're talking.
Okay.
Click private chat. Roundup tonight. I just want to share with you. I went to Baltimore back in the day. Me and Daniel. You see Daniel. Oh yeah, he said don't forget the fax machine. I went to Baltimore just trying to expand my horizons to actually maybe possibly get some holdings in Baltimore. And I actually bumped into this gentleman here while we were walking through an auction. And it's weird how we kind of got to know each other. And then next thing you know, he has some connections down here in the Tidewater, Hampton Roads area. Found that out, and then so now he happens to be the buyer for the 10-unit building that we were going to look at. So tonight, I would like for you to get your questions answered from a lot of you guys. Watch that video; it's got several views on it. But I wanted to just bring Jordan back on to tell us a little bit about that acquisition and about him being a millennial real estate investor and what his plans is with that 10-unit building. Jordan Taylor.
Hey, hey. So,
A little background, real quick, man. Tell us who. Give us a little bit about you. How did we get here today?
oh wow, me. So originally I am from Baltimore, a little bit outside of Baltimore, but most of my family's born and raised in the city.
Mhm.
Um, my dad is Baltimore native. My mom's from Southern Virginia. She on the west side though, not the east side where you are. But
West
yeah.
Side. Where is that? At? Close to Roanoke.
So Danville, Lynchburg.
I'm from Lynchburg.
Oh shoot, so she's at Gretna. So
Okay.
that's
Oh
right,
yeah, that is
right
that's
down there.
a blip.
Yep, yep.
That's a blip.
And so, yeah, I mean, grew up, spent a lot of my summers down there. But most of my youth was working with my dad. My dad was a general contractor, so I got cheat codes. And that was my silver spoon was that I grew up since I could push a broom. I was out working with him, doing home improvement, and around building from the ground up. I know everything about building houses and doing home improvement. So I think that kind of stuck with me as I grew. I started my businesses early, and I was tired of working with him. So he was like, "You got three options: you can work for me, you can work for yourself, or not have a job." That was it. That was all you got. So started landscaping, and from middle school all the way to high school. And by one of my boys will tell you, plenty of days they see me pushing lawnmowers up Ritchie Highway and stuff like that. So
Wow.
it's about getting to it. And so I went to school mechanical engineering, and
Where'd
then
you go to school, Jordan?
so I went to Penn State. I was actually at the Erie campus, so it was super cold. So
Really?
much snow, like a reckless amount. Like I remember going to class one day, and it was like a regular sunny day. It was cold, but it was like a regular sunny day. I come back outside, and it was like a chem lab, so maybe it was 2 hours max. It's like a full 4 feet of snow on the ground, and I'm panicked. I am clearly bothered by
I thought
this.
you were going to say inches.
No, it was like a blizzard out there, and I'm like, nobody's freaking out right
They
now.
didn't even pay attention.
They're like, yeah, no, I'm about to go to class, and that was the expectation. It was like, I don't care how much snow is outside, you better be on time to class. You
They
need
don't
to be
even
early.
feel it. They don't even feel it.
No big deal. But yeah, so from there, I started in engineering, and then actually started working with a company, Solar City, it's Tesla now, and got into renewable energy. Did pretty well in that, scaled up, and that actually is what provided a lot of the funds for me to start like really get investing. Had done a few flips with my brother, and since
In the Baltimore area.
yeah, so most all of my investments are in Baltimore City,
Gotcha.
Baltimore County. I got a couple down Southern Virginia, but most of the business is up here in
Mhm.
Baltimore.
Gotcha.
Um, and so just here and there, doing a few flips and managing the properties. And then in between, like I said, he's a general contractor, so doing home improvement stuff as well.
Wow.
And so again, a lot of the stuff is I do have an unfair advantage. And some people don't have it, but at the end of the day, I've seen a lot of other people who have no background in real estate, but are able to come in and crush the game. you
Yeah.
know. So I definitely that's kind of been like my journey. And now, here with this project, this is one of the larger ones that I've taken down. But really looking at it is, you break it down and it's into its constituent parts. A little tongue twister, but it's the same as any other flip. It just has the capacity for better profits. There's some other factors you get to control.
Hmm.
So, one of the main things being comps. That's one of the reasons I was saying, granted, this, as far as like the ideal area, yeah, we're not buying in, Baltimore proper, super downtown, and it's a super ideal property. But if all I have to do is create the environment or create my local comps, I can go to any bank and say, hey, I want this house to be worth this. As long as I can justify it, what's the problem there? So,
That's
um,
cool. That's cool.
yeah, it's some looking at it from a few different perspectives, and putting together the puzzle pieces in a way in which works for me. So, like I said, my exit strategy is for rentals, long-term rentals, and we talked about like the energy efficiency component of it. That
Hmm.
is an additional profit center, to be able to make this a very ideal investment, because with Baltimore has been getting an inordinate amount of activity. Um, DC's always going to be DC. It's our capital. It's a lot of saturation there, but you're getting a lot of sprawl. Baltimore is really looking like DC did like 30 years ago.
When I remember my friend bought a row house, I would say in the early 2000s. I think she paid 30,000 for it.
Like, it's like that,
Yeah.
and you're
Do people come from DC? Because I'm you're there more. I feel like it's almost like a straight shot from
oh yeah,
DC right there. It's like one street.
between downtown Baltimore, like you can take 295. 295 is that corridor that connects Baltimore to DC. You can just take 295. You'll get from Baltimore to DC. I don't take 295. I take 95. It's faster. Uh,
Okay.
and but it's just all of all of the people that are in DC usually have some ties and connections to somebody in Baltimore.
Gotcha.
PG is basically the PG and Anne Arundel County are basically like the two counties between Baltimore and DC. Um, and so,
That's,
I spent a lot of time in both.
okay. It's a casino up there too, right? What is
Yeah,
it?
Horseshoe. Horseshoe is right downtown. It's on Russell Street. I think it's
Gotcha.
Russell Street.
That's
And then
cool.
there's Live. Live
Live. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
is right outside. That's in it's like Linthicum or Hanover, I think.
We're gonna keep going with Jordan here. I gotta pay some bills real quick, Jordan. Give me 2 seconds. Round up. Make sure you get registered up in the videos. The link is in the video description. We have Stephanie McAdams tomorrow. This is going down tomorrow. The mobile home masterclass. Stephanie has agreed to put together. I'm telling you, we got a 6-page handout for you. I've went over it with her. She's going to give you her lease, her purchase and sales agreement, her seller financing docs, the lease option stuff. Tomorrow, this is going down. Learn how to invest in mobile homes from the expert. This lady owns a mobile home park. She owns the park, y'all. So, my thing is, I figured, why not learn from somebody that's learned from my mentor, Lonnie Scruggs? So tomorrow we're getting started. It's 2 days. It'll be Wednesday and Thursday. So if you want to join us tomorrow, that link is in the video description. You can learn how to buy and sell mobile homes. So, Jordan, we're gonna get to some Q&A. If you want to get your questions answered, don't put your questions in the box over there. Members first. We'll get to members first. If you want to join our membership, there's a little button that says join right down there. It just costs you the price of a coffee a month. So tell me about your approach. Let me share this thing, Jordan. This is a beautiful. I love that color. Did you like that color?
Color is solid. I was like, I'm a fan. I'm a fan, especially like all of them are nice, blue, white,
You
super
know, with the Hamptons, so that's almost like I'm in heaven.
right. That's my sister went to Hampton.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wow. Small world, man.
right.
So tell me about your approach to this, Jordan, as you were. I mean, this is no small, even for me and my guys, this is not a small undertaking. So, I
Hmm.
mean, it's nothing but another zero and another door, but still the mental capacity to be able to look at this and kind of break it down and compartmentalize the problems that could come up and what you need to address. Tell me about your approach on this thing, brother.
So that's like really the biggest feature right there is like some of the problems that you might run into. What kind of things am I going to run into that are going to be super detrimental down the line? Am I going to run into just to start? Are we going to run into permitting issues? Are we going to run into any kind of zoning issues?
Tell
Um,
them as we're getting started with that, Jordan, tell them what the product is. Frame it up for them so they know how many units, how many doors, year built, some of the issues, some of the construction things that you think that are unique, how many tenants are in there when you're buying it. Just give us a little bit about the product.
Gotcha, got you. So it's 10 doors. They are 10 single family townhomes. They're row homes in Baltimore. And these are probably about typical row homes. These are a little bit older. So I think the build date was around 1880. So they are on the older side.
Wow,
You're seeing some of a good portion of it is the older construction. So, your 2x8s as opposed to, some of the
real,
2x4s or two by even sixes.
real 2x8.
Right. And so they are also it's a narrow lot as well. So where your typical lots in Baltimore are usually about anywhere from like 14 even 18 foot wide. These are 12 foots, and even a little bit shorter. And they have four units that are ready to, or rentable. Three are currently occupied, and those leases are anywhere from 750 to 800, which is below market. Even for that size, the market right now for any of these, and most of them even unrenovated, should probably be going about 850, even 950. Especially when it's well kept.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and
So 10
so
units, built in 1880, three of them occupied. What are they? Are they three bedrooms, two bedrooms, one bedrooms, Jay?
so most of them, eight of them are 2-1, so 2 bedroom, 1 bath, and then two of them are 1-1s. The 2 bedrooms, I guess, couldn't get qualified because they either didn't have egress or closets, but
Mhm.
they've kind of turned it into a master suite. So all of upstairs essentially is the bedroom with the bathroom included.
Yep. So as you were approaching this, Jordan, are you tell me a little bit about your thought process.
So my thought process was, most of these are they've been sitting for a while, run down enough. My automatic thought is, what's worst case scenario, and what is the most amount that I can and will spend on it. So that's how I'm framing it because I have to get my bounds, my confines. What am I working in, and I have to understand like, all right, me, I'm an engineer by trade, so it's my factor of safety. So
Thinker brain.
I want to make sure like I have a lot of room to be one. It's got to be a good deal, and I got to have room to breathe. I need room to be able to make mistakes because I don't care how long you've been doing it. I don't care if you've been 50, 70 years in a business. There's still mistakes you can make because there's always a first time for
You will
things.
make. Yeah.
Yep.
You can.
So, and even if you've done this job before, it's not, it's stuff that also can come up. So, um, looking at what my so what's the highest property price that I can get? So we're going to start there.
Okay.
On a singular unit, how much could I theoretically look to? Worst case scenario is I got to get in, get out, flip this and sell it.
So your
Um,
worst case, you're going in like, you know what? Worst case, I might have to just liquidate to get out of it.
right, right. So buying it, so we ended up landing on the final auction was 370, 390 at closing. And the market value, they appraised at about 760.
Okay.
So,
You get an appraisal when you bought it.
yeah, had to get the appraisal buying it, and it's also helpful as a good starting point to know exactly what you're working with, exactly where the market is currently.
Hmm.
Um, and so a good portion of that, was geared towards the already occupied ones, and then the other ones were floating at about mid 20s. Essentially, was those appraisal values.
Gotcha.
So now, if we were to just do a gut and refinish, what's the cost of that, and then what would that sell for at typical either builder grade and then the highest grade? Because I always like to work within a zone. So
Okay.
what's the bottom of the market? What's the top of the market? So the bottom of the market, if we just go ahead and do the bare bones minimum, we're looking at throwing maybe about 20, 25 in there, could actually get that done. With Baltimore labor costs, and then also kind of knowing a little bit about what you're doing and target areas, you can actually, you can probably even get away with a little bit less, but just for conservative numbers, 25 will be able to, to get you some exposed brick. Um, you
I see
know,
that. Yeah, I'm looking at that. I love exposed brick,
it's a
dude.
look. It's a look, and I'm a fan, and I'm thinking that that's one of the. It's going to be at least one accent wall that we're going to go ahead and do the exposed brick for. That way, we don't have to do the sheet rocking and all that other stuff.
I
Only
love,
issue we got to worry about is conduit, and running those electrical outlets, because we got to
mhm.
have at least two or three every wall.
But I'm looking at this, Jordan. I got a million questions. I know y'all gonna get to them. Y'all heard me. Y'all gonna get. I love how these 2x8s. You just got exposed wood. Like forget it, and
hmm
it's working.
Yep, yep, and
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I mean, and that's a look. So really looking at the market, that's one of the issues running into now. So talk to the designers, talk to some of the architects, and talk to some of the realtors. So hey, in this area, what is selling and what is it selling for?
Okay.
That is a big deal, because it doesn't matter if you do a whole bunch of work and you make it exotic, you've got marble, but if that's not what people are looking for, nobody's buying it. It's not going to
Mm,
sell. Or you're going to have a harder time selling it than you should. So my biggest objective is optimizing. I want to see what has been selling for the most, and then what is going to cost me the least, and basically making those two things line up. And so with, like what you're saying, exposing that with a brick, classing that up is really going to be the approach for this. So making, giving a little bit of a better improvement. So we're not doing anything like Formica. We'll probably do some stone type of countertop, and again with that accent wall with the exposed brick. Go through sheetrock everything else, but like what we were talking about, the comps for that square footage only put me at about 150, 175 is the top of that market for
mm,
a two-bedroom, one bathroom. And
okay.
so that's a decent turnaround, from 390, let's call it 400, to, if we're talking about the total sale, if we could sell all of them for 150, that's 1.5.
Mhm.
So that's a decent amount of wiggle room.
That's a lot of wiggle room.
Right, right.
How in the world are you getting this stuff done for 25, Jordan? I'm like, for me, getting these things 25,000 is gonna be. I ain't. That's gonna. I'm gonna get nothing done for that. I mean, we just did a house cost me 60,000. I mean, just
Right. So it's also on some of the materials, and other thing, we did not get to go in all the units. So one of the
nah.
units, take a look at this guy right here. If you can see, go zoom in
I
on
didn't
that
remember there
building
being
there.
wood panel on that one there.
So is it there still? I think it's there still. But if you actually go inside of this unit, the guy who was doing this before, you can actually see some stuff over there. It was at least 100, at least about 100 uh, uh, pieces of sheetrock. You're
In
talking
the unit.
about glass shower doors. We're talking about boilers, and
This is it right here. Okay, I see it there.
so now
It's
this is
hardwood
a
floor
this
too.
is a
Looks like.
it's a cleared up picture. They, I guess, dumped everything else in there after it left, because there's other stuff like joint compound, a lot of building materials. So I did, I kind of lucked up with that,
It
but
came up.
also, instead of going to your traditional suppliers, your Home Depots, when you're going to some of the vendors that And I got my brother, I've got my dad, I've got guys that I've done work with in the past where they have relationship with you. If you can actually get some pretty good, you can get some pretty good bulk pricing. So some of that's baked into the numbers, but I do know that based off of this square footage and with the scope that we're doing, from a lot of the guys that I work with, they do clean work and they're not trying to rip my head off because they know it's going to be more work in the future. So some of those things are negotiated. Talk to them
Very
ahead
good.
of time and you say,
Very
hey,
good.
look, work with me on this. How good can we get this? How lean can we get this? And can we get it done on time and on budget?
Mm.
I accounted for at least 10 months to make sure that we can get in and out of here clean. And as many teams as we need to get in there to get it done, we'll get it done. So now with that 25 to 25 is looking at the mostly the material cost, and that labor cost is going to be a little bit more flexible because
I
again, like I
see.
said,
You got
with
relationships.
right. So some of those things actually count. The Baltimore market, I would also say, again, does reflect some of, you don't have a ton of people who can get consistent work or that volume of work unless we're in a market that, we're in now where we're trending upwards. But
Mhm.
again, having that those relationships where, hey, look, you know, uh, my guy Pedro, you know, we put you on before. Let's take care of me. I'll take care of you, and we can keep good working relationships. The
Yeah,
working relationships where you have people who are
it's
showing up
priceless.
consistently
Yeah, it's
and
priceless.
GCs. Oh my gosh, because so many of them are flaky. Or you'll get into a job and then halfway into it, you're some people if they don't if you're not paying them right, like you already overpaid them and then they got six other jobs they're working on. Now
They're
your
gone.
job, you're deprioritized super
They're
quick.
gone.
So those are a lot of the things that really, if you're looking at the quantifying those prices, those come into play as well. And so that's a good portion of it. And then in addition to that, you have incentives in tax credits and subsidies that you get from energy efficiency. And
Let's
that for me
let's get
is,
into that. Yeah, we'll get into that in a minute. So your main thing with that was if you had to resell them, boom, you got the equity there.
mhm.
So, but your intent is to hold your intent. Obviously, you're in the game. Your intent might not be what actually happens once you get in. I mean,
Oh,
you
yeah,
you
yeah,
plan to do that, and
yeah.
I'm not saying this is the business. I thought I was gonna do this, but the shit costs that. So I got to make sure to do that. So your intent is you want to hold on to these.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Because if you look at that location, the development that's been going on in that area, all of the trend has been upwards.
Okay.
There's been much more activity because a lot of my work in the past has been close to the east side. A lot of stuff that Johns Hopkins has been doing, but now it's begun transitioning to the west and to the northwest.
Let's look at
So
this. You mentioned something about Pigtown. What is Pigtown?
Pigtown is right down here. So let's take a look.
This is where we at, y'all. I want y'all to get a framework of what we're talking about. We're in Baltimore. We're hanging out with Jordan. We're talking about this 10-unit building that they just bought. This is the property there. What is Pigtown? Just give me one sentence. What is it?
Well, we're west of Martin Luther King and south of Pratt Street, but that is that's an area that was super depressed for some time, and
Okay. We're
all of
talking
a
about
sudden
depression.
started to get a whole lot more activity, a whole lot more investment, and now we're starting to see that with some of the sprawl, downtown is kind of gotten to a point where we're building outwards now. You actually there were not a lot of high rises in Baltimore for me. Growing up, it's kind of been a similar skyline, but now
Uh-huh.
you're starting to see them pop up here and there. And now the actual core of the city has been actually moving out. And so Pigtown, I looked at some properties there maybe a few years ago, and
There it is right there.
you're probably looking at a good portion of those properties have appreciated over like 10-20%, and that's the low side. Some of the property values have doubled. So looking at that and seeing all of they just renovated that shopping center that's down there, and they've been moving north.
I
So
can't
where
wait
I
to
am
live
in
there.
Union Square is really close. It's basically because it's on the south side of Union Square, so it's bordering Pigtown. And looking at some of the development that's been going on in the area, you see a lot of construction and looking at the if you're driving up and down the streets, when you're starting to see new facades, repointed, refinished bricks,
Hmm.
and you're starting to see
That's
your large
ridiculous.
grand entrances and stuff like that. That's where, okay, there's a little bit of affluence
That's what
going on
Daniel
here.
said. That's
We're
exactly
starting
what
to see them trying to build this area up. So let me see what's going on, what's about to pop around here. Because if you go on the opposite side of Baltimore, something similar happened around the Inner Harbor, Canton area,
that's
Fells
here.
Point. Yep.
I
And
want my rounduppers to know, Jordan. I don't think people understand. You're talking about. This is hundreds of millions of dollars of
crazy,
renovation here, dude.
crazy,
You're talking about. I would even stretch to say billions of dollars of renovation that's happened. I don't
easy.
know. Go ahead. Go,
Oh,
dude.
yeah, yeah. Because so you're starting to see like high rises. High rises are not cheap. Like you're talking about, and this is a luxury condo, like right there on Light Street. That luxury condo, I think, was finished earlier last year.
Hmm.
That joint is exclusive.
Really
Like I'm just talking about from the ground floor, seeing the type of finish that's in there. I'm like, oh, them joints.
peeping in.
Oh man. And then you start to see. So I was at Amazon. Their BWI2 location is O'Donnell. The development that's been going over there, a lot of that has been centered around some of these Amazon facilities and warehouses,
Mm,
popping up. And that BWI2 is one of the largest facilities in like, especially for what they do in this like Mid Atlantic area. And
mm,
so that is a ton of employment that's there, consistent, regular employment for a lot of workers that work there. And they just now opened another one over closer. This is Sparrows Point, and that was one of the buildings that I launched. And so, like, being able to drive that type of demand, Amazon come in and they'll shut down a city. Like you
yeah,
saw the squabbling over, where the HQ2 was going to be,
fighting.
and just a regular warehouse in itself. We got your Under Armours, your what's they're in the Legg Mason building. It's
Mm,
one of the investment companies, but they do a ton of employment in Baltimore. When you have major players, that's where a lot of people, hey, I want to live next to my work. They
yeah,
had three apartment complexes that were built just around that BWI2 facility.
gotcha.
And with that Sparrows Point location opening up, I already see people clearing out land. Trade
Wow.
Point is another. They do most of the manufacturing. They do like commercial manufacturing and industrial builds and stuff like that. And Trade Point is another person buying up all the dock space, just clearing just excessive amounts, and they are spending money. They are spending money because they're getting money. Because I've seen those bills that they're paying.
We we call that forced appreciation, y'all. Forced appreciation. Where they go, I want y'all to frame this up. This is where Jordan's building is. This is a literal straight shot, dude. I literally got in the car and drove
Yep. You
from
take a left, you right down Pratt Street.
y'all don't I think this I want y'all to just get a vision in your mind. This is a jumping harbor. This is almost like a downtown where I'm not saying boats are coming in here, but it has that feel. It's a harbor. It's right on the water. You got dining, restaurants, nightclubs. It is booming, y'all. I went to go eat there, and I'm like, damn, I can almost ride my bike from this to that, and just the values. I'm like, we'll go from here. So it's got to be moving that way. Would you say?
Oh yeah, yeah. So, and like I said, that's all that sprawl right there on Martin Luther King is where University of Maryland Medical Center is. And so,
Which
like
way
I
is
said,
Martin Luther King? I'm trying to find. Is that yellow?
I think yeah, it is the yellow one. Let me zoom in. Let's see if I can.
Is that this one here? Oh, I
Uh,
see it. Martin Luther King Medical Center right here.
yeah, University of Maryland Medical Center.
Here's
So
Martin
that,
Luther King
that
right
yeah,
there.
that's Martin Luther King right
You're
there
like
on.
10 blocks from it.
Oh yeah, and that's where a lot of people work at the hospital. That's easy commute for them.
Wow,
Like
dude.
that's definitely walking distance.
That's cool.
So
So cool, man.
yeah. So I mean, knowing a little bit about the city, I definitely saw the value in the location, and then also with knowing how things have been moving in the city, I'm like, well, why would I just get rid of it? I mean, granted, if I just sold those, that's quick bucks. That's definitely some quick cash in the pocket. You got some things you can work on, but I'm much more of a long-term person.
Good for
That
you.
that equity build, that I don't account for appreciation in my properties
Never. I don't even
unless
care about it yet.
right, unless I'm making it though. if I,
If you,
if I'm
yeah.
if I'm creating it, hey. But
So
yeah,
let's stay
so
there for a minute. I remember when back in '04 when I was in the game, the markets were just they were literally vertical. I mean the appreciation, and I kept hearing Robert Kiyosaki say we can't count appreciation. Can't I'm like, man, this dude's crazy, crazy. But
mhm.
now I'm seeing appreciation means nothing to me. If it happens, it's good, but I want to know your take.
Yeah, because the thing is, so I come from the perspective of the rental side as
Cash
opposed to the,
flow.
the flipper side. It's cash flow, and he's another guy. Cash flow is king
Yep,
because more times than not, people look at your net worths and stuff like that. That's great, but how much cash are you
coming in
it's coming in?
every
That's
month.
what they're looking at.
Yeah,
That outside anything
and they
else
love
is
you.
like, okay, that's cool. But right.
They treat you differently too.
You step in the bank. Hello, Mr. Taylor. How are you doing today?
Dude,
Yeah,
they
it's
treat you so. I'm like, fuck you talk. You talking to me? You talking to
right,
me?
right.
Oh, damn. Okay, what's up? Jordan, you got
Yeah,
those deposits, dog. I promise you.
right. It's like, what would you like today? Oh yeah, we'll make that happen for you. No issue.
No fee.
Yeah, you're right. Oh, I got a few of them. Like, oh,
No
okay, yeah,
fee.
that's on the house.
No.
Oh, thanks. Say less.
I'm sorry, man. So yeah, cash flow.
Yep. So, yeah, I mean that's
Good you doing that.
and then even outside of that, so you cash flow it makes the deal. You got your profitability there, and because so much more money is made on that cash flow, and
There you go.
also the tax side, where you get to depreciate your properties.
The
Those
appreciation.
are those are benefits that regular mere mortals, like if we're talking about our social security number, we're not getting the same as 123 Street LLC.
Hmm.
They get to dip into an extra set of costs and come back because that's the whole point of the way the tax code is written.
Written from
If
the owners.
it's written for owners, for business owners, and they have an affinity towards real estate specifically, because I guess you look at it in a whole. When we first got here, the whole objective, you want to make a strong, robust country. It's all about economics. People need places to live.
Yep.
Jobs is it's a ton of jobs in building houses. So
Yep.
if you're building the economic system, then we want to benefit you. We don't want to slow you down by making you pay a bunch of these taxes. All the people who are just spending money on consumption, that's where you're paying all the taxes, sales tax and all that stuff, and you don't get any of that benefit back.
Wow.
But if you're investing and you're creating business and you're creating a part of the economy, it's basically like investing in the economy. Just like you invest in the stock market, that is a part of the economy. Investing in the economy is
You
being a
talking.
business.
You talking, man. You talking. Round up, we're here with Jordan Taylor talking about this building he just got. Get your questions in the chat box over there and make sure you go to the link in the video description to get signed up. Tomorrow, we are having Stephanie McAdams. She's going to be going over her mobile home masterclass, telling you how to get started step by step investing in mobile homes. Stephanie's been doing this since 2007. She's down in North Carolina, but she's from New York, so she's got the taste of both sides, country and city.
Hey,
Tomorrow, 4 o'clock, she's going to be showing you how she built a real estate empire on mobile homes, and now she owns a mobile home park. Get registered up. That link is in the video description. It's only a couple bucks. You did miss the early registration, but hey, man, round up. I'm bringing guests to you. If all you learn is how to buy a mobile home and get that thing cash flowing, it will be worth your time. So, Jordan, let's talk about these tax benefits and the solar thing. Then we'll get to some Q&A. I've already had you for 40 minutes. I'm jealous. I get to hold you, but I gotta let you go to my roundup so we can get to some Q&A. We got a whole lot of questions in here, man. I've been waiting to bring you on ever since. I'm like, we got to make sure we follow back up with this guy.
all right, yeah, dub. So yeah, what you want to know? The tax benefits is that's real
I
estate.
mean,
That's the game.
is it? I'm saying, is there a Baltimore thing, or is that in general?
So more times than not, so it varies county to county and state to state. There are incentives for energy efficiency
Okay.
because with energy efficiency, that does one of two things. It either lowers the consumption, which lowers the burden on whether it be powering the home, because the less that you're spending on powering the home, the better the economics of that building is,
Yeah.
and then also it adds to the longevity of the building itself.
Yeah.
So there are incentives on, let's say, for if you can meet specific requirements. There are ratings that you'll give houses. If you anybody that's lead certified will be able to come in, look at a house, see the improvements that you need to make to be able to lower the energy consumption of the home. And
Wow.
after it reaches below a certain rating, it's actually rated as a passive home or a low consumption home, and you get a tax credit on your property tax. And there are also credits that you get towards the materials that you use for doing those energy efficiency upgrades.
Gotcha.
And so they'll vary, per material. But with, in addition to that, you're also lowering the consumption of the home, which lowers the overall operating cost. So insulation is probably one of the biggest things to focus on.
Hmm.
Um, you lose, like I said, 30 to 40% of your overall energy consumption is heating and cooling.
Yeah.
And so if you insulate your property well, then that is cutting down, usually it's about 90% reduction in your overall energy consumption.
Sweet.
So you want to have it to be airtight, and it varies depending on your climate zone. If you're having permeable membranes or impermeable membranes, how much vapor barrier you're going to be using, and also how much insulation you're needing to use, because you're not going to use the same type of insulation that you're going to use in a cold climate than in a warm climate. And you're also going to need to adjust for the amount of water or humidity. A dry or arid climate is going to be different than a very moist and humid climate.
Wow.
So
That's
that building science is, I kind of, I learned a little bit of that in school. So
Sheesh.
that
Wait.
again is helpful. But it's a ton of stuff that you can learn from some of the builders that manufacture some of the sheathing that are for the exterior of homes.
Mhm.
If you're looking at insulation, talk to, even if you talk to some of the guys that do HVAC.
HVAC. Yeah.
Some of them understand the type of wear that it puts on the systems. So if you're optimizing the energy efficiency of the building, you're not turning on your heater or your AC as often, and you don't have to use such a large unit to power a home.
It's
I,
funny you say that. I got a 90 plus in my house, man, and I'm like, it's like night and day. It's night
mm,
and day. Go ahead.
but yeah, like not having to use such a large system in a home, you can
Big difference.
spend a lot less money,
Yep.
to do the same amount of to attain the same level of comfort.
You're
you
right.
know
You're right.
so, and
I can't
it's
deny
like,
that.
with the amount of times if you ever listen for your furnace, you'll probably hear mine, that'll come on. If you have that coming on regularly and you hear it every time it turns on, especially that initial turn on, it's taking a lot of amperage and it's consistently running. That's energy consumption. And the more times it has to do that every day just to heat up the house, because that heat is escaping through your windows, the cracks in the walls, through
Mhm.
the underneath the doors. You have the door jams and stuff like that that'll keep air from going out of the bottom. That's the cold air. And
Mm.
then from the top, that's the part that nobody ever thinks of, but that's where the heat's going.
Mm.
So you kind of want to understand at least the way your airflow is moving in the home. And more times than not, you're only doing that with an architect or somebody who's doing the floor planning. So you're really taking it from the conception of the building and planning that into it. More times than not, most people are flipping or rehabbing. You don't have a ton of control with that unless you're bringing an architect into it. And more times than not, that's 15, 18 G's a pop.
Yeah.
That's minimum. So it doesn't make sense to change your whole ventilation systems and everything like that.
Sweet. So what were you did you want to talk about the solar? I mean, we could talk about the financing, so much stuff,
Oh
the
yeah,
title
yeah.
stuff. Which one you would get into first, Jay?
So I think that most people are interested in solar just because it is something that is, I think, is relatively new to the consumer market. Um, Solar has been around for a while. Like some of the first systems were installed like back in the early 70s, like in the
Mhm.
Mojave, that are still running today.
What?
And yeah, and when you think about it from like an equipment perspective, there's not too many systems that you can get and they'll operate for even more than 25 years, and that's the standard warranty for most solar equipment. uh, you're getting a system warranty for anywhere from 15 to 25 years. Industry standard is about 2025 now, and they're
Mhm.
increasing in longevity.
Okay.
um, Most of the systems that were built anywhere from 2000 2010, you're probably getting below about 260 watt panels.
Okay.
um, and those will produce, and we start getting into a lot of technical talk of watts, watt hours, and kilowatts. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to explain it in a way in which it's just easy to kind of digest. If you talk to your standard house, a standard home consumes about 10,000 kilowatt hours of electricity every year. Um, I'm sorry, kilowatts of electricity every year. So if you build a system that is 10 kilowatts, that essentially should power the home and all of its energy consumption, for the year.
Okay.
Now, what you want to do when you're designing that system is the considerations that go into designing that system is its proximity and location to the sun. We're in the northern hemisphere in the United States, so we tilt the panels towards the sun, which is pointing them to the south. And you want to be able to capture maximum exposure. So if you have anything that's shading it, that affects the overall output of the system. So if you live in heavily wooded areas, it's not to say that it's impossible for you to get solar, but it's a low likelihood, or it's less of a good investment for you to install a system,
Gotcha.
in the middle of some trees.
Gotcha.
Most of the solar hours are between the hours of about 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. That's where you get most of your sunlight, and that's when the sun's pretty high in the sky. So as long as you can see the sun from about 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., you're probably pretty good. That's about 80% of the overall production of the system. So that is kind of like the short version of, really like knowing if my house is as good for solar. Here in Baltimore, there's a lot of flat roofs, and if you're looking for a major supplier to get you a residential solar system, one of the things they have to take into consideration is I have to mount it to something, as
Mm.
opposed to just being able to mount to the rafters in your roof.
Mm.
So, I either have to get, um, an I-beam, or have to use a ballast system. Those are components that usually will cost additional, because the traditional installation is, direct mount into the rafters in the underside of the roof.
Gotcha.
So what I'm actually going to be doing here is I'm going to be doing a raised system, and so those are going to be more pergola-like, where they're going to still facilitate, having sun exposure, but it's also going to be dual purpose to be able to get roof access, because rooftop decks in Baltimore are relatively prevalent, and for this area, these are things that people look for when purchasing a home or when renting. So
Mm.
that's one of the costs that I could justify putting in there.
I see. I see.
Now, when we're talking about tax credits, the tax credits that go into installing a system, everything that's necessary to be able to install that system is covered under that tax credit. So
Golly.
when let's say for installing, your 10 kilowatt system, I'm going to give some super round numbers, and it varies greatly, wildly. But let's call it about $35,000.
Mm.
The 26% federal tax credit has been extended for the next 2 years. It was set to move to 22% for 2021. They extended it, for another 2 years. So now you get 26% on the total cost of the project. That 35,000 that I'm spending for the system includes hardware and the installation. So if, let's say, I need to get a circuit breaker, I need to upgrade my circuit breaker because whether it be I don't have enough breakers in the panel, or I need to upgrade that panel, that
Mhm.
is covered in the cost of that tax credit.
Gotcha.
Um, Everything that I need to do to make sure my roof is stable to be able to install a system, because some roofs are not in good condition, or they may be old enough where any penetration is liable to leak. So now I have to do new shingles or do new underlay. Maybe I need to even do new decking or short my roof because the loading was too much for it to be able to withstand. So I have to do additional trusses. Those are all components and equipment of the system that you have to purchase, which again get those tax credits applied
Mhm.
to them. And so when looking at a renovation, you know, that's a good opportunity to say, most people will say, hey, I'm going to go ahead and get my roof redone at the same time where I'm getting the system, because now I don't have to worry about, people are super concerned about leaks in their roofs. That's really not the biggest concern. Um, you have 1,000 holes in your roof anyway. All the underlay and all the shingles, each one of those shingles has at least like 20 to 30 nails in them.
Goes right
So
through.
if they can seal those, they can probably seal a soul to mount, a hole that mounts, solar to a roof.
Yeah.
Um, the biggest thing that you want to be concerned with is, are you building a system that's too large for that house?
Mm.
You should be worrying about the energy consumption first before the system. So reducing the amount of energy consumption that is in the home is the biggest thing that I usually look to focus on. That's why all the insulation, all the energy efficient appliances, which also get tax credits, especially from BG&E here. But that's where a lot of that savings comes in,
Gotcha.
because we're
Gotcha.
talking about being able to save on materials, we're
Long
saving
term.
on electrical panel costs, and this is a long-term investment as well. So I can actually amortize this, over, most of these loan terms are anywhere from 10 to 20 years. And the financing is relatively cheap. You go to any of the solar financiers, they're given pretty reasonable terms. They're
Gotcha.
definitely lower than any home improvement loan. Most of the home improvement loans are, you're getting 9 to 20 something% for doing, redoing a kitchen, which is not making you any money. And I know people want to be comfortable and they love kitchen and love cooking. Maybe they entertain. That's, their prerogative. But solar actually generates a return, and it's a quantifiable return based on the amount of output of kilowatts, in addition to depending on if you're in a SREC market, which is a solar renewable energy credits. Yeah, so it's a little bit that goes into it. I've been doing it for a little bit, so I kind of know the ins and outs.
Well, I'm like I'm thinking about your budget for reno. Is solar what you're going to do, or is that something that you're interested in possibly adding to it? Because I'm like, if you're spending 25, 30,000 on a reno, or are you planning on doing a more extensive reno? Is it going to change? Is the solar going to raise the values of it? I'm trying to just get a picture of
So
that
solar,
expense.
yeah, solar actually does raise the value of the property, and
Okay.
it's a dollar for dollar home improvement. So when you install a system, that is a permanent fixture on the home,
Mm.
and especially in Maryland, when you look at the property appreciation, I got a 117% increase in my home's value. Well, I'm sorry, in proportion to the system. So if the system, my system was about $28,000,
Okay,
and
that's the
so
one you got. Whatever you put somewhere else.
right, and the value of the home increase was about $31,000.
I didn't know that.
So I mean, essentially, all that money got put into the equity that's in
I
my home,
see.
because when I look to sell that, I'm getting all that money back,
Gotcha.
and
Gotcha.
I also got the tax credits.
You get the tax.
So
It's almost like creating square footage with that stuff.
it's crazy.
Yeah,
It's
that's crazy.
crazy.
That's crazy.
And so again, if I'm financing the system, because I will, let's say, if I'm financing that 35,000, I get that tax credit. That's, let's call that about, say,
Mm,
12,000
12, 15, yeah.
bucks. Yeah,
That's
something
big.
like that.
Yeah.
That's cash in my pocket. and 10 kilowatt system that is generating,
Tenants
and
paying for it.
tenants are paying for that. And I might give them a little discount, or they underconsume. Great, I can get them a little gift at the end of the year. If they overconsume, I can also put that excess in their bill as well. But it still is paying that bill and paying off that loan. I got a lot of the front end benefit in addition to the SREX.
I guess.
And this is also a very energy efficient build. So now I'm capping out any energy they can consume. So I don't have to worry about them, over consuming on the system, because that system, I probably took that house from consuming 10 kilowatts down to consuming 4,000, 5,000 kilowatts. So that's a 50% reduction at least.
Mm-hmm.
And so these are things that, especially over a long term, when you're holding this stuff, is a really big benefit, because now it's much less that I'm concerned about, having to worry about somebody not paying a bill or anything like that. It's taken care of. And now I'm the utility company. I make that money.
Yeah, that's crazy. We don't have the time to get into all that. Maybe we'll get you back on to talk about that, man. You mentioned that to me before. You make the rules on the power. I mean, that's crazy.
Right,
Just
right.
crazy. Jordan, listen, man. I got several other questions, but I got to get to my roundup. I got to let them get some questions in before we get too late. Is that okay?
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure.
I got to say what to my boy Curtis from Virginia Beach, one of our members. Roundup. All members' questions will be answered first. If you'd like to join, it's nothing but the price of a large Starbucks coffee. Hit that join button so you can help us get this content out to the people. Roundup, get your questions in. Pretty Lou, hey, I wants to know, what was your first investment, Jordan, and how much did you have to put into it to get started?
So my first investment, this was a single family.
As
Uh,
if you've been investing since you're like, I mean, you're only 29. What year was that?
that was back in 20.
Back in.
Yeah,
Y'all hear that
right.
mess?
It was only like 6 years ago.
Yeah.
6 years ago.
back,
I,
back in.
yeah, I got it when I was 24. So what is that? I'm 20. I gotta do the math real quick. It was
5 years.
5 years ago. 5 years ago. I did a 3.5%. I did in
That's a
FH.
loan. Is that the loan you're talking about?
Yeah. So I was just saying 3.5% down because it was a FHA, but I also did what is it's the Maryland Mortgage Program. I end up having, so they do it in proportion to your student loans, and you can actually roll your student loans into your property. And so I
Wow.
was actually doing Airbnbs so I could pay off some of my student loans with that Airbnb. So I didn't
Jordan,
fully turn it into a full rental property, because that would have violated the rules of the Maryland Mortgage Program, but they didn't say anything about Airbnb. And so that actually paid, it was about, I had about $100,000 on student loans. And so
wow.
I paid down a pretty good chunk of it. And then the rest of it, they rolled into my mortgage. And now that's being paid by tenants.
Sweet. That's a good idea, Jordan. You are just sharp, brother. So even with Airbnb, I've had clients that have rented out one of their bedrooms and still
Mhm.
stayed in another bedroom. You get $100 a night.
Yep.
I mean, you can't beat that. I mean, talking about a BRRR, ain't
Right,
gonna
right.
touch that. I mean, that is,
Bird to the max.
yeah,
Real
those
dope.
steroids. Lou, good question, my friend. Wait, that Chris. Chris, thank you for all you do. Yeah, it's cool, Christopher. Thank you so much, man. Yeah, thank you to Jordan for coming on with us tonight. Yeah. Denise, Baltimore is 6 months to get the deed. And did you only have to pay back taxes, or was there other liens as well?
So there were no liens. That's what we were making sure, when you do this title search, make sure there's no all cleared of liens, and cleared of taxes. Because if there were any taxes, that would have been included on the price. That you would have had to clear that before you actually close on the property itself.
Mhm.
Um, And right now, because of COVID, they've been extending a lot of the timelines for recordation, and that was actually one of the issues that Chris and I were talking about in just closing on the property itself when doing that title search. Guessing because the courts are closed, or they're dealing with a lot of volume. That was a super tough time actually getting the clear title for those. But as far as the back taxes and any of the liens, you want to make sure that none of those are coming with the property. And you can always go to your realtor can probably help you out. The title company can take a look and make sure that there are no liens or back taxes. But before you close, you want to make sure that you do your due diligence and none of
You
that stuff
better.
is there.
Yeah, that's funny you talk about the recordation because you might buy the house today, man. They might not even record the deed for what 3 months. I mean, you just don't know. You don't know when they're gonna record this stuff.
Right. Like, I mean, I don't have it yet. So just
Yeah,
like,
there you go. It's been what month? Yeah, you don't know when you're gonna get it nowadays.
yeah. And I mean, that does also slow down permitting. And so that's one of the things that I talked about, with funding. Hey, I submitted everything on time, on ready to go. But if you don't have those deeds and everything back, the city sometimes will give you a hard time and pulling permits.
I've been there, man. You're right there getting a permit, and they're like, "You're not the owner," and you're like, "Well, I don't have a deed because they haven't sent it to me, and they can't get the deed." It's a
Right. But I own it.
nightmare.
Look at this paper. Look at these loans.
You can't prove it. Can't
Right.
prove it. It's crazy. And then this courthouse is closed, so you can't go in there. So we got 145 people watching you, brother Jordan.
Hey, what up? What's going on?
So yes, this is the unit that we walked before, Den. This is the one that we went to. Let me see if I can pull it back up for you. Yes, this is it. This is one Jordan picked up. I met him when I was there. Matter of fact, me and Daniel and Chris actually were able to run into him while he was there. Nice colors we got going on there. You gonna keep those colors, Jordan?
Yeah, I think so. The brick, I'm actually just doing a study for the R value for that brick right now to see if we need to do any insulation. We may just go some interior side insulation. That way I don't have to do any exterior work.
Gotcha. Looks good. Property. Sorry, MTTM book space. Looks good. Did you have to do? Did you have electrical work to do? We went through those pictures. Obviously, I mean, those pictures showed a lot. Go ahead, Jordan.
Yeah, so there is going to be electrical work and plumbing work to do. Any area that we can minimize it, we definitely are. But for the most part, I'm just assuming that it is there. And then if we can get away with not having to do it, that's great because it's now money back in your
Keep
pocket.
what you
But
can.
yep, yep.
Always keep what you can. I remember my younger days ripping out everything like a dummy.
Yeah, no, don't do that. Don't do that.
Did you do that too?
No. Oh well, yeah, I definitely have. So it's like, hey, we can just make everything brand new. It'll be awesome. No, sir, that's not how that works. Not how that
I
works.
never forget learning. I'm like, why would you want to keep that? Joey, we used to rip out the trim. We used to rip out the trim, the base around the window. I'm like, what were we
Right,
doing?
right. But you
Anyway,
learn. It's those are L's that you take now, which are just lessons. They're just lessons.
sometimes you win, sometimes you learn.
Right.
All right, round up, get your questions in. Procnep. Can Jordan talk about the renewable energy taxes? We did that already. I don't want to go back. Any of the profit centers. We did that, right? I don't want to get. Well, man, I don't want to repeat everything. He can rewind. He can rewind that one.
Yeah, it's tax credits, and there are other profit centers outside of just charging for the energy consumption. I know Dan and I talked about converting, so I'm getting the other lots that are 1603 and
On the ends.
1602. Yeah, those ends, we're converting those. So I submitted the request to the city. They just been taking a long time to get back to me. But
Converting them to what?
those are going to be parking spaces, and
Sweet.
they're going to be dedicated for everybody in those units.
Let's go,
And
man. Shoot, that's you could raise the. You could charge for parking, or you
oh,
can
yeah,
add that as a bonus.
yeah, that's a profit center. So that's going to either be lumped into the rent, or hey, if you want an optional parking space that you can buy, no problem.
I think my kid has left something outside. My neighbor's calling. Oh, Lord have mercy. Round up, get your questions in. Jordan, speak a bit. Oh, how much rehab? You haven't started any rehab, have you? DSG label.
So codes for the stairs. So the stairs are actually grandfathered, and the expected for the rehab. I'm expecting actually about 35, and this is like I said, we're not including solar. and then some of that labor is a little bit variable, but 35 is probably where I'm going to cap out at.
Gotcha.
Anything outside of that, it will just be something to look at on the investment side. Does it make sense? Is it wise? Is it prudent? Because, especially depending on the way the taxes end up shaking out, there may be other things that we'll be able to do.
Gotcha. Sean, I got your email, my friend. I'll get back to you as soon as time permits, my brother. I promise you. We got you. Got you covered. DSG label. Are you still planning on doing any of the bump outs? I think you mentioned that in our last session together.
Yeah, so because they all actually have some variation of a bump out ready now, I don't actually have to do as much work in doing the extension for the second floor. There's only two that are missing bump outs, and those are going to be some of the more costly ones. But those bump outs are still going to be there, and I still got to minimize it because we're working off of pre-existing structure and pre-existing foundation.
Do as much as you can pre-existing. The technician, I knew there were 2 bedrooms. You can't go from one bedroom to another. I don't know what that means.
Oh, I think it's that railroad room. We're converting
Railroad.
those. Yeah, we're converting those. So.
Boss. Very common. What size? How big are those units, Jordan?
So they range, but they start at 790, and they go to 847 was the largest. So
Gotcha.
they're pretty small. But like I said, adding that square footage is definitely going to help. And then that's why I also was exploring those rooftop decks to be able to get some more
That's gonna be sexy.
useful air. Oh yeah,
That'd be sexy.
people love a rooftop deck, and it's a pretty decent view.
Time me, Chris, you're the real MVP. You learn so much from my channel. Thank you so much, my friend.
Oh
Thank you.
yeah.
Thanks for guests like Jordan. Yep. Maybe like any questions? Oh, I got a lot of comments.
Man,
People.
'cause you're the goat out here, giving people the goods for real. And the thing is, like, I had actually watched a good portion of your videos, like, and when I made the connection, I was like, oh yo, that's him. No, that's him. I've seen that guy. Yeah.
We're thankful, man. We thankful. That's so cool to have met you too, my friend. Somebody says, let's see, they're probably gonna get in a great area. So is its equity going to go through the roof? Oh yeah, your equity. Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like I haven't even been thinking about it, but the way property values have been going, the way inflation's been going, I'm like, man, I already know this is a solid deal in just the equity I'm about to build in.
Mm-hmm.
But we on that. Ooh.
TTO says there are a lot of murders in that zip code. Do you know anything about that, Jordan?
21223. That's not the zip code. It's 21213.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Different.
but I mean, overall in Baltimore area, it has had a pretty high crime rate. But they've actually been doing a lot with city council governance, and it's a whole lot of politics that are involved in that. But working with a lot of the community groups, I'm active. I'm trying to get more active in the community, because it really has come from depressing an area when you don't have stuff for kids to get into educational programs, and you don't have jobs for people to go to and work, and people they got to survive, and that's the way it ends up shaking out. But Baltimore has definitely come a long way from
what it was.
Right, because it was like that.
I remember The Wire. It was like a movie show
Yeah,
used to come on.
tell us to NBA. Yeah.
I didn't know that was Pigtown. I'm driving through that damn place. I'm like, me. I'm like, man, let's go look at the house. I don't care what's going on.
And it's funny because
Not there.
going to a lot of other places, like I said, you from Southern Virginia, like I know what that area looks like, and growing up and seeing that, it's super different. Like I go to New York, and a lot of people are like, oh, New York is awesome, this and that. I'm like, it actually smells pretty bad there, and it's super crowded, and it's a lot of stuff that's just not my aesthetic. But you go to other places like Detroit and Cleveland, and they look just like Baltimore, it's just about being used to the aesthetic and used to what those areas look like. I know where to go and I know what's the hood and what's not the hood. So it's like being from that area definitely helps, and you start to look at stuff a little bit differently. And not
Hmm.
being from there, I thought every place in California looked amazing and beautiful. But you start getting used to it. It was like, oh no, this is kind of the hood. I, this is definitely the hood.
Yeah. Tito wants to know, why do you think the seller is so cheap? I remember we had a chance to talk to him too. Dude was going to Brazil later.
Yeah, so he was actually trying to get back home. I think he was from that area, um,
Hmm.
and he had gotten into that property. And what I'm deducing, this is only from assumptions at this point, because I do know that he was trying to leave. He was trying to get everything closed out. There was a lot of material that was left, and I think that he kind of got left high and dry with one of his
Contract.
GCs. Um,
Mm.
yeah, because the way in which the one finished unit looked and is, I'm seeing a lot of like, I mean, no shade to him. He seemed like a great guy, but it was a lot of amateur mistakes. The way the layout was, the way the ventilation was, the outlets, some of the placement for certain things, and the
Hmm.
selection. I was looking at it and I was like, this must have been like a first rodeo, because it doesn't look like anybody knew what was going on here.
They
Um,
left too much.
yeah, and they were just like, "Hey, I'm just done with this thing." I guess he was in over his head. So
Might have been. Might have been. That goes to show you, even veterans. 'Cause dude been around, no doubt.
right, right,
We talk
so
about I don't know how many rentals he said he had, but he had a bunch of rentals up there.
right, and I mean, he just might have got the wrong contractor too. So that's another thing.
Chris wants to know, the solar savings, the credits. Many are for the owner occupant, the bill, who the bill's name is. How do you plan to gain with the 10 units that are rented?
So the savings, the actual credits, so it's three credits that you can get from the system. It's the investment tax credit, that's that 26% tax credit. It is the solar renewable energy credits. That accounts for, maybe, depending on where you are, Maryland's maybe about 10-15%. DC is like 20-30%. Where you at? Those also go to the system owner. And
Mhm.
then any overproduction goes back to whose name is on the bill. So depending on the way in which you want to work it out, you can again lump it into the rent. You can have it either go into a reserve account on those electric bills, and then that would be for the tenant. But again, it depends on how you work that out with the tenant, if you're going to be paying those bills, or you're going to be taking those on, or you're going to be giving those to the tenant. But typically you'll probably generate maybe anywhere from 30 to, I've seen even $100 of excess production per year. But these are not from homes that have been retrofitted with energy efficient designs. So I do eco efficient builds. That's trademark that. That's, you heard it here first, folks.
Gotcha. That's crazy, man. You got some secrets. Quinn Quintus, man, shoot.
Cost
Quinn.
segregation. Yes, I
What
that
is that?
is.
What is that? And what? Come on, y'all can't leave me out of this.
So cost segregation is actually where you take and you look at all the different aspects of the property, and you are taking, down to what kind of insulation are you using, what type of faucets are you using, what type of appliances are you doing, and those are all line items that you're doing different depreciation schedules on. Because if you look at real estate is depreciated over a 27 and a half year depreciation schedule, which is slower than some other things like technology or equipment, which are on shorter depreciation schedules. And with that depreciation, that is money that you're realizing sooner in the on the overall reduction in your tax bill every year. So where you would have to stretch it out over 27 years, you can compress that into 10 years, into 5 years. And with solar, that's one of the things that you can depreciate much quickly, because it's a technology. It falls into the 5 year category. And I think
Wow.
they changed some of the tax code that you can do it all within the first year, and also depending on how you buy it.
Gotcha. I didn't know that either. Another thing. Let's see. Wow. Sorry for the dog, y'all.
Hey, it's all good. And I know plenty of people been on those Zoom calls, now, and they got all kind of things going on in the background.
You have no idea. I got a zoo here. Baltimore trending. Yes. Let me go ahead and I gotta pay some bills one more time, real quick. Y'all make sure you get registered up in the video description. We've got 135 people on here hanging out with Jordan. Tomorrow is the mobile home masterclass. 2 days are going to be hanging out with Stephanie. She's going to be covering how to locate and get started step by step investing in mobile homes, even if you have a small budget. I've seen this lady in action. She's going to give you all her documents. She's going to share with you how to locate buyers, how to locate sellers, the lingo. How do you talk to these people? You can't just go in there and go to the mobile home park manager and go. You got to know what you're saying when you walk in the door. Okay. So this is going to be 2 days, tomorrow and Thursday. She's going to start at 4. Hopefully, we don't know how long she'll go, but I'm thinking 2 hours, and then we're going to do Q&A too. So make sure you get signed up. That link is in the video description. We'll start promptly tomorrow at 4. Man, I got so many questions here, dude. I don't even know. Boy, how do you comp property? A lot of statements, though. Birch has a question. How does JT offset the initial cost of the install of the solar? Many programs have 20-year monthly payments, 2 down payment, to pay down the equipment.
How do utilities affect this cost? So are you doing a PPA? Are you doing a lease? Are you doing an operating lease, which is also different than a traditional lease? So they have different financing options, and depending on how it fits into your schedule. So what I'm going to be doing is likely going to be doing an operating lease. And so that way I can monetize a lot of the tax credits quicker. Or with a traditional lease, traditional equipment lease, those things are financed. And then you also have the option to purchase after so much time, which again, you get those depreciations, those credits while you're doing loan, operating leases, and purchases. So
Gotcha.
any of those options, you'll actually be able to realize that tax credit. If you're not able to realize that tax credit, you're going to be doing something like operating lease or traditional lease.
Gotcha. Vince says this man is a genius. I would agree.
Well, appreciate it, Vince. You seem like a smart guy yourself.
This dude, you be kicking some stuff, y'all. We're here with Jordan Taylor talking about investing in Baltimore. Somebody said they evicted somebody and she got attacked.
Oh, no.
Good Lord. You didn't have to deal with that up there, do you, Jordan?
No, I mean, I've had a couple evictions, but nothing like that. I try not to handle my property management if I don't have to. It gives me time to focus on, generating more income, doing other creative things.
That's
So,
true. That's true. Vince wants to know, how do you hold your properties? Do you use a trust, LLC, self-directed IRA? How do you
uh,
do that?
so I hold my property in an LLC. It does limit some of that exposure. And I am actually looking to transfer these over into a trust.
Mm-hmm. I was intrigued by the. Oh, somebody said they saw these properties I drove by. They looked much better than in the pics. Can't wait to see how Mr. JT develops these. Me too. We're gonna go up there with my camera if JT lets me go and watch this guys in action.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yep. JT, it's Maceo wants to know how many properties have you owned before you scaling up to something big like this?
So that was 6 properties. So not a ton of them. Just good placement, good timing. But like I said, I had experience with doing a lot of renovations, doing a lot of property
Yeah,
management,
you don't count.
flips.
You don't count.
So it's definitely a different thing. And this is all
Much different.
I still had W-2s. I've still done other things like, that's why I know a bunch about solar.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Anybody that's just looking to jump into it, they kind of want to have some background to lean on.
You better. Don't be like, yeah. So round up, I forgot to ask you guys, make sure you smash that thumbs up for me if you don't mind for optimization purposes. So it has relevancy to our channel. Let's see. Someone's trying to trash. Yeah, Daniel says can't wait to see the finished product too.
Hey,
Yep.
what up, D Money?
You're right. That's it. D money. That's a good name. I'm gonna talk him that. Will you address the question on whether Jordan is utilizing call? Oh yeah, we already did that one.
Mhm.
Ring doorbell. Man, so many comments. I can't. Good Lord. You know what, Daniel? It looks like the rest is just comments then. They are going crazy over this thing tonight.
Mhm.
I do assume these are small units. We have tons of houses here. Daniel did have a question. According to my conversation with the previous owner, he had made a lot of money in Baltimore and had a hard time during the walk on the road. He was going back home to a coffee farm. Yeah, he did mention that.
Yeah, yep.
He
I
did
was,
mention that. If any other questions, though, I'm gonna let Mr. Jordan get up out of here. Oh
hey,
yeah, somebody wants to know how they get down. How do they get in touch with you, Jordan? Let me hold that banner up. Did you give me that?
oh yeah, my
There it is.
you can just DM me J Taylor underscore TMG. I'm on LinkedIn. I don't know what that is. I think that's like Tailor Made for. Um, but if you go on my Instagram, I think my link tree is on there. It's got my Instagram, my websites, and stuff like that. Um, I'm open book. I try to put people on when I can. Try to build up the community. Like, it's no reason to hold all the knowledge. Like, it's
No.
out there, and you got channels like this that give you all the goods. Like, you legit are you go through your entire playlist, and I would say that I'm confident that most people will go out there and be doing pretty good with themselves.
Hmm. I appreciate that, man. I really do. I try to make sure that I give value, and not only my thing is, look, this stuff ain't always pretty.
Mhm.
It's not always pretty. I want people to know it's just not always pretty. When you coming in here to do these deals, stuff blow atom bombs will blow up on you.
Just know that it's happening. It's just when. You just always gotta be prepared for when it's going to happen.
You're right. When will it happen? Not if.
Right. It is when.
Just when. You got
Guaranteed.
some good foundations on those too, Jordan. By the way, I didn't see a lot of. Well, obviously you crawled under them too. Did you get
And
a
I
home inspection? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
and that's what I was waiting for, because I was like, I know it's something going on. So one of these got a crumbling, leaky foundation. I'm about to find some termites or something, or burrows, or I've looked and I waited. It was a couple like big super storms, and because right on the what is that, the west side, there's that big field, and I'm like, I know there's runoff coming in and eroding this foundation. Been trying to figure out
Right.
nothing, nothing, and I'm like,
Wow.
this is kind of
That's
craziness.
something. That's
Yeah,
something. That's something. So y'all get in touch with Jordan. There is information there. A couple other people asking for it. There it is, right there. I don't have to put it back up here. It's right there. It is expensive. You can share his contact information. That's it. Zainab. Yes, it's right there. It's right there. So, Jordan, give us some final thoughts as we get out of here. Roundup. Make sure you get signed up for the mobile home masterclass. We're starting tomorrow. Don't wait till the last minute. Final thoughts on somebody new getting into the business, Jordan. What can you give us?
educate yourself, connect with people, get out there. I know where, it's COVID times, it's panoramics out there. But try to get to people who are doing what you're doing, and even if not, there are realtors, there are people who do home improvement, there are people, you can always learn something from somebody
That's
somewhere
right.
sometime. Try to be a sponge. Little kids are awesome at doing it. We should
Yep.
stay young
Stay
and keep
curious.
learning. Yep.
Stay curious. You're doing that. Well, you know what's weird? You can learn stuff from people that have messed it up. You look at
Right.
them and see. I'm like, look, man. I want people to. I'm transparent. I show you I'm messing up. I wish more people would share the good and the bad stuff.
Oh, that was our first flip. Our first flip that we did, we barely like made the
Big.
money back. Like,
You made
barely.
no profit. You just wanted to get. your
Right.
money
Like,
back.
can we just get all the money we put in it back, please?
I love
And
it.
it was just it's stuff like that that you have to make those mistakes. And you're right. We should share more mistakes because that's how I learned. I
Yep.
learned from other people's mistakes,
Yep.
and that's a great way to learn. You learn from people who do well and doing what you want to do. You learn from people who are doing the opposite.
Doing the opposite. Learn from people that have messed it up, been in the business 30 years and don't have any long-term holes. You don't flip everything. I'm serious, man. I mean, older guys, man. I'm like, you didn't keep none of the horses. You got to have some horses in the stable.
And it's attractive though. Like damn big cash, like the the first time because I commission. I was doing commission solar deals,
Okay.
and first time you get those big commission checks. I remember the first time I got it was a 5-digit commission check,
Sweet.
$12,345,
I'm good.
and I was like, oh yes, yes, yes,
I'm
yes.
here. I've arrived.
That's what chasing those flips is like because you can make 30, 40,
It's
50 bang.
never enough. It's never enough, Jordan.
And it's like, but to have that security, I look at my properties as, the way people look at their 401ks, that's what I look at mine as.
Spreadsheets.
Yep. It's like that's consistent, it's building equity, it's getting me some cash flow. Like that's what I'm looking for. I'm here for the long haul, the long run. I need this one to pay for the car. I need this one to pay for, the vacations. I need
Yep.
this one to pay for the college tuitions.
Yeah.
That's the way I'm purchasing my properties. It's like,
Yeah.
what
That's how
am
you
I going
do
to
it.
need to pay for? Because how quickly can I get retired? Like, I don't want no more bills. I don't want to have to worry about those things.
That's how you do it, Jordan. You're in the right mindset. It's never enough. 30, 40, 50. I don't care what. Now, I've never made a million in a month, but I'm saying from my perspective on the average person, it's never enough. You can always work. Even for me, I work 5 in the morning to like 10 at night. And I don't even have to work. So
Mm,
it's never enough, y'all. So with Jordan, long-term passive cash flow. So when you slow down, the money will not.
right.
When you slow down, because I'm already feeling it. Like Jordan, I'm 20 years from you.
That's
So,
crazy, yo. You look like my brother. My brother is maybe 10 years older than me,
mhm.
and I would have thought that you were younger than him.
What? I'll
Yeah,
take that.
yeah, right,
I'll
right.
take that. I'll take
Staying
that.
staying in the gym.
You know what it is that gym getting that blood. Or Tony Robbins calls it lymphesizing, getting that lymph moving.
Yeah, them kids probably keep you young too.
That's true. I got a newborn. You're right. That fool. Round up. Make sure you subscribe. Get signed up for the Mobile Home Master Class. Tomorrow we're starting. Like this content. Give me that thumbs up for optimization purposes so that it will let the internet know that we matter. The roundup here matters online. Jordan, it's been an honor, my friend.
Hey, always a pleasure, man. Next time I'm down on the south side, I hit you up.
Yeah, man, we catch up. Go get we'll catch some coffee or something.
All right, for sure.
Okay, round up. Y'all have a good night. I'll see you tomorrow on the Mobile Home Masterclass. Peace.